Munir. He's a virologist at Lancaster University. Mohammed, thanks so much for your time for us, as always. We know that this particular Pfizer vaccine requires a specific storage. Will this be a challenge for its transport and the distribution in the U.S.?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I think it is really important to understand is that we didn't have any vaccine before that required -70 storage or transportation infrastructure. So this means there isn't anything such like that been existing in the healthcare system. That need to be established right from the scratch, and that poses a really big challenge, particularly for the developing countries. But I mean, specifically speaking about the US and UK, they have been preparing and they have been procuring -70 temperature into the healthcare hubs where the vaccines is stored. So certainly it is one of the major challenges we are having to distribute Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, not only in the developed world, but also in the developing world.
Yeah, the Pfizer vaccine has already received approval in the UK, Canada, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, and now the US. How far away are we from getting approval for the other vaccines that the companies are working on? Some reports say that the Moderna vaccine is next.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the more important for the European and American perspective is the Moderna vaccines, where the trial has been concluded and the dossier, the file that is required to be compiled and presented to the regulatory bodies, which is FDA over there in the US, has already been presented. So that is, I think, the next one to be approved before the end of this year. But then we have other vaccines, for example, the Chinese Sinopharm that has been approved by the UAE, which has 82% efficacy. And then AstraZeneca is also in the pipeline, although they require more trials to be conducted before the data is sufficient enough to be approved. We certainly have 3 or 4 more candidates that I am expecting at the end of this year or early next year would be approved. That would be adding the overall capability for rolling out.
And what percentage of a population needs to be vaccinated before we actually start to see numbers of infections falling down?
Yeah, that is extremely important question. I mean, for example, if we look onto the perspective of the USA, I mean, they are 330 million. And if they are getting 6.4 million doses at the end of this year, that is literally 1 to 1.5% of their population. It's going to certainly save the lives, but that is not going to make a significant impact onto the pandemic or ending the pandemic in a night time. So that also means that we have to vaccinate vast majority of the people. For any vaccine that is 95% effective, we have to vaccinate 75 people out of 100 in the community to really achieve the herd immunity. And until we don't really achieve the herd immunity, the transmission chain cannot be broken, and the community transmission will already going, and that is going to be posing challenge. So we have to have at least 75% population immunized.
Okay, Mohammed Munir, thanks so much for that. Mohammed, as always, he's a virologist at Lancaster University.